Now, can you explain to the audience everything they need to know about Step Brothers for Life?
Everything they need to know.
Hell
Shit. Maybe not everything they need to know. It's a beautiful project, if I must say so myself.
Yeah.
I think it's a great reflection of where we are in life at at this present moment, and it was fun to create.
Yeah, what he said. It's top tier rapping. Like it's the bars are intact, you know.
Indeed.
And that's almost a lost art in this day and age, hip hop realm. So we trying to restore that feeling. And for us, as far as a series or a brand, it's really progressive and hopefully shows some of our evolution. 14 years in on this series.
And speaking of series,
14.
Step Brothers for Life is in reference to the 4th installment
Indeed.
of that series. But let's zoom out. And for those that are just now hearing about the 4th installment, haven't listened to 1 through 3, may have heard of the brand, haven't pressed play yet, can you just walk those people in the audience from the very beginning? Just the Step Brothers brand and that series. The 1st installment. Can you explain the title, the reasoning for the title, and how that even came together?
Yeah, it was inspired pretty directly from the film Step Brothers, starring Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, and their characters meet with their parents. They're adults.
Right.
They're like 40-year-old overgrown kids, and their parents are getting married, and they both still live with their parents. So it's a comedy, and we drew some inspiration there. We kind of haphazardly or semi-randomly arrived in each other's lives or presence or whatever. And similar to those characters, like, we found ourselves to be more alike than different. Even I think in rap,
True that.
like, people tend to kind of be standoffish or so into themselves that it's like, I'm me, and forget what you got going on over there. But in that film, those characters were kind of like almost trying not to rock with each other, if that makes sense. And they ended up finding a bond or forging a bond that was like a brotherhood, even though they weren't actually related. And as far as like being two artists from Tennessee, he's from Memphis and I'm from Nashville, like, we met as kind of like, we got past that and got to work and figured out, like, hey, this probably worked really well. And then it was a tagline in that film, like, did we just become best friends? And that was like a turning point in the film. And we took from that and pretty much bottled it up into a mixtape form. Our first project was like kind of a mixtape, splattering paint on a wall and arrived at beautiful art. So here we are.
Okay, now let's dive a little bit deeper with some of those details you just presented. The 1st installment was actually released in July of 2011, but prior to that, in the formation of the 1st installment of this brand together, this collaboration together, do either of you recall the first time you two met, how that even happened?
Yeah, first time we met, I was on the road with Yo Gotti, and he made a stop in Nashville. I can't really recall what it was Gotti had to do, but we kind of split off, and we went to the studio. Me and Zed Zilla. You familiar with Zed? You know what I want to say? YG was with us, was he?
I'm not sure.
I think
he was around at the time. I don't know if he was on the road that particular trip.
If YG was around, then that would be around the days of the I Am tour?
Nah, not that YG.
Oh,
Big
gotcha.
homie.
Big homie G. I known him for too long, so I call him the name I know him as.
From Memphis.
But I think, I'm not really sure if Big Homie G was with us or not that day. My shit fuzzy. But either way, we was at his spot, and he had a guy that was getting a verse from Zed, and one thing led to another. He convinced him to get a verse from me, and that was really when we first met. So I don't think we did a record together that day. I think no, we didn't. We didn't actually. But from that, we did a session there, and I want to say we linked up again. We didn't record. We just was on the road we just was there at the same time. I want to say Miami or Orlando or something. I'm not really sure which spot it was. It was a Super Bowl or some shit. Either way, I can't really recall. Either way, that was us being around each other with no music involved whatsoever. But from that, I guess we just, the bond just kind of started growing. And, when we met, it wasn't like scheduled or planned. It just so happened, we was gonna be in Nashville, so we figured we'd do something other than be on the bus. And like I said, when we linked, the rest kind of, as they say, the rest was history, or.
Now, it's one thing for artists to collab with one another, maybe on a song or two or
Right.
3 or 4, whatever. But whose idea initially with the first installment, Step Brothers, was it to take it to that level and do a collaborative mixtape at the time?
Well, we had done what, about 5 or 6 records?
And the first session.
Yeah, initially we just was going to get in the studio with each other and just work. And the first session, we cranked out about 5 or 6 records. And from that, I can't really say which one of us, it might not have even been us that sparked that idea to do a tandem tape. At least the initial idea. And from that, it was like, it might not be a bad idea. And, we started putting a few of the pieces together. And as far as recording, we didn't really have to do much but just get back in the studio. So it kind of built itself. And while we was doing the first session, that's what he was watching on the computer, on the lap. I want to say it was a laptop. I don't know. The details was fuzzy for me. But he was watching the Step Brothers movie, and I remember that distinctly because he watched this shit like 3 or 4 times. I was confused. And, he watched it the way my kids watch Shrek. It went off and he turned it back on. I didn't understand. I'm on the other side of it, so I'm hearing shit that I heard, a moment ago. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit on loop? And, I don't know, I don't know if he still love it now, but he really loved it then. And it worked. It was the perfect coincidence. I want to say I had seen that movie before, but I didn't have it on loop like Craig. But like I said, it was a perfect coincidence. It was a lot of things in the movie that reminded us of how we connected. So it just fit.
Yeah, it was intentional. Sometimes just play things as a backdrop or whatever for what's going on, theme-wise. And so it was intentional on a lot of time. The idea to collaborate jointly for the sake of a project, it just kind of made sense, like considering their camaraderie, like I said in the movie. And just a fun fact, I guess, the first project dropped, you mentioned July 25th, 2011. That was like the 3-year anniversary of when the film came out. So that was intentional as well. The day it dropped, it was on like some network on TV, back to back actually.
It was. Yeah, they played it the whole day.
So it contributed. The earlier days of Twitter, like we trended on Twitter when that was really a thing, and just that quirky niche marketing, I guess. Figuring out how to use the internet, but taking a cult classic of a film like that and bringing it into hip hop, it worked. Obviously, it worked well for us. But playing.
You saw even other renditions of it. So yeah.
But playing it in the studio was definitely an intentional thing.
With you at this point, Lito, where does this movie rank in your all-time list of favorites?
It's probably top 10. It's near and dear because of the brand that we've created parallel to it, but it's probably top 10 film.
And do either of you have a personal favorite scene from the film?
Yeah, my personal favorite scene is, I don't know character names. I think I don't know. He would be Brendan, right? John C. Riley.
It's Dale.
Okay, Dale, he in what's it, Dale Doback or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, when he in the men's bathroom, and his what's his name? What's the other guy name? The brother.
Damn, we were just talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, I forgot it after you said that.
The Brennan's actual brother.
Yeah, his wife had made a quick visit in the bathroom. It's slippery. If there's a favorite scene, that's my favorite scene. That and the other one when they at the dinner table.
Oh yeah, so
It's,
both sex scenes.
Yeah.
My favorite scene would probably be when they become best friends, and and they find that they have a connection and a bond, and they're really excited about it. And it's like, we can do so many activities, and they build bunk beds.
The worst possible way you could build.
Yeah, they turn 2 regular beds into bunk beds, and sing in Montel Jordan, "This is how we do it," and then
chaos ensues.
Yeah, when Buddy jumps on the top bunk, the beds collapse and smash the other character in between. I laugh like I never seen it before every time I see that scene. So we had a record called Bunk Beds on Step Brothers 2. So yeah, that's my favorite scene.
And speaking of this movie here, has there been any reaction from any of the actual characters in the movie to your brand or any of the artwork, or if not the characters from the movie, maybe people affiliated with this film?
It was a Will Ferrell parody account that reacted to it, like I said, in the Twitter space, but nah,
that I know of.
Okay, now let's just dive a little bit deeper with you two here before we move on to the 4th installment and get some details on that. What's a studio session like with you two at this point? Can you take the audience into what that's like?
It's humid. It's flames, hot flames. It's like a sauna.
No, it's not. That's just pretty fucking cold. Studio session with me and Craig. It's not work, if that make any sense. And we really just hanging out. The music is like that's just a bonus, so to speak. We not people assume we be in there competing, but in real time we're just hanging out. I'm kicking it with my brother, and we get some music done while we're in there. And sometimes, sometimes there might be a few other people in there with us, but for the most part, it's not ever any new people, if that makes any sense. Shit, I've been, what you say, 14 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shit. I don't even have any new friends since fucking high school. So, but I would say, it's just us vibing, man. We chilling. Might be some snacks or some food in there, and occasionally some herbal fumes, but those don't come from me. But it might be present.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we've talked about that previously in interviews just between me and you. But is that ever an issue for you when you're in the studio and there is some herbalness around?
No, the herbalness don't bother me. That fucking that tobacco, that'll do it though. Them cigarettes, yeah, I gotta put you out. But that's anywhere. The studio, I can't stand with you outside if you're smoking a cigarette. I don't know. That ain't refreshing in no manner. You would think from the herbalness that maybe I would end up with like contact high or something. I don't think if I have ever experienced it, I wouldn't know. I think I might be immune to it at this point.
What if the herbalness is encased in something tobacco-ish, like a blunt wrap or
I can't really tell. All that shit smell like the same herbalness to me. But that the cigarettes is a whole different shit. That's not herbalness. That's fucking poisonous.
Yeah, he chooses tobacco. He likes smokeless tobacco.
Chewing tobacco is ridiculous, man.
All right, Lito, let me ask you this point blank direct. Out of all
shit.
of Don Tripp's characteristics, what is your absolute favorite about him?
We got that one before.
Damn. Characteristics.
Yes. Even just asking you the question, if not a favorite, what comes to your mind immediately just posing that question?
Well, I don't know if you mean like musically, artistically, or personally, or
Personally, just as a person. Yes. Favorite characteristic of his to you?
I don't know if aloofness is that a word?
What the fuck is that?
He's very aloof, but
What the fuck is aloof? I know what a loofah is. What the fuck is aloof?
You're not a loofah.
I know I'm not a loofah. What the fuck is aloof? You looking up loof for me?
Aloof.
Okay.
But it was between that. See, you're actually being aloof right now.
I don't know what the fuck that means.
Can you give him the
I do have
definition?
the definition
Okay.
here pulled up on Google.
So-
Not friendly or forthcoming, cool and distant.
Yeah, I mean, that speaks to how thrown off I am that's a distinct character. But the reason
Damn.
why is because I champion people being the same, consistent. Like, if you're distant, just be distant all the time. If you're aloof, if you're friendly, be friendly all the time. I don't got time to like reconfigure, recalibrate, readjust to the way you are. And I can like appreciate him existing in his own bubble and just being his own person. The other thing that would have come to mind was unapologetic. And that's I can relate to it. He's a little bit more pronounced. You know, it's in his music and all that too. But I know him well enough to know that it's not like a facade. He's not putting nothing on it. The way he is the way what he presents is the way he is. And you know, yeah, that was aloof. I'm gonna stick with that.
I can dig it.
Same question to you, Mr. Tripp, here about Lito. Favorite characteristic of his to you?
Very sincere. You tell, when he feels strongly about something, it's evident, and he don't hide that. If anything, it kind of, it kind of spews out. You can tell that it's near and dear to him, or that he feels strongly about it. And fatherhood, I think it fits well on him. I've known him, of course. I knew him before he had a child, and to see the father he's become, I don't know if that counts as a characteristic or not, but I think that's noble. That shit, that means the world to me, and I think that's in real time. That's more important to me than anything, than any kind of relationship with me. Your relationship with your child, and I think he do a hell of a job. I think he a phenomenal father.
And just to be fair here, back to you, Lito, about Tripp, on the opposite end of the spectrum, what's a characteristic of his you can't stand? Bugs you, bothers you, gets under your skin, perhaps.
That's funny as hell.
You gonna throw you a wild card.
That's what we're here for.
It's marriage counseling.
Yeah, exactly. This is a different form of therapy.
Counseling.
Indeed. I'm interested.
He already knows this, but it still morphs with the other answer, and that's probably why working relationship and otherwise works. It's what's the word? Promptness, tardiness. Nigga ain't never on time nowhere. Like, but he don't give a fuck. Like, he doesn't care. Like, he's unapologetic about it. Like, it's baked into the schedule. Like, all right, trip gonna be an hour late. So, you know, that's the thing. Like, if we gotta be there at 12, we gonna tell him 11, and he still might get there at 1.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, the fact that it's like he wears it very much like, well, it can't start till I get here. So what we gonna do? We here now. What we gonna do? You know. But I've learned to like embrace it or laugh at it or even it works.
I guess
it works for me to say that if that's the polar opposite of. Like just for insight's sake, some of the studio sessions with this album.
I was late to all of them.
There it is. But that led to some of the magic moments creatively. Because whereas I may have gotten there early, some of it, honestly, like I got some solo stuff done just to not, make no use of the time or waste the time, if you will. Some of the times he may walk in the studio and the idea is already in motion and it's just kind of like, all right, let me just jump in where we are. And that's back to that, like you said, what does a studio session look like? It's not so static. It's not so like, all right, we're going to go here. And there was probably only one session where we knew what we was going to the studio to do.
Right.
Out of, I think, 6 sessions. Only one of them actually had a directive, and that was because we was finishing. We knew what it was to complete the project. But
yeah.
So yeah, it's making pluses out of minuses, if you will. And I do also kind of believe time is an illusion, any damn way. So as long as the job get done, it's call it perfect timing anyway.
And in true Don Trip fashion, this interview started 15 minutes later than scheduled.
Oh, that's light. That's early then.
Now, again, same question here to Don Trip about Lito. Just to be fair, on the opposite end of the spectrum, what's a characteristic of his you can't stand?
Let me see.
Bugs you. Bothers you.
Come on, man, not too much.
Bugs me. It bothers me. Gets under my skin. Let me see.
If anything.
I'll say maybe not to the extent of bugs me, bothers me, and get under my skin. But sometimes, well, not so much for me, maybe for other people or, people around us. But I had to, I think sometimes when we get together, he be needing it. So even though he is an only child, sometimes he start to act like an only child. And, when we connect, well, it's I don't know really how to explain it, but when we connect, then he started to move like he got a brother, if that make any sense. Hopefully that makes sense. But if we're not in the same place, then he still move like an only child. Craig be having same thing. I guess the opposite. He got tight schedules. He got it all planned out and shit for some of the things he be doing. And now I got 8 kids, man. I can't keep up with this shit he be trying to pull off. I make it happen best. Well, I guess I can't say best I can because I always deliver. But I don't know. I guess that sometimes I guess that's the thing I don't like. He only got one child and he's the only child. That's it. I come from it was many of us and I got many little ones, so he don't know how unpredictable time management can be in real time. So hopefully he have 4 more kids, and then I won't have nothing I can't stand about. Bugs me, bothers me, or gets under my skin.
Now, Lito, that is a interesting element here. The fact that you grew up as an only child, and then you have this brand with Don Tripp called Step Brothers. Is that something that is ironic to you, or is that were you one of those kids way back when that always wanted a sibling, or
Yeah.
did you like the only child feeling, or?
He was one of them kids that when you go to the playground and you don't do something, he take his ball and go home. So then we can't play no more because he took the ball.
Yeah, I was selling crack. Nah, at some point in my childhood, I did want a sibling. You know, it's interesting. I go through that with my daughter. Like, especially went to see Mufasa, and there's a song in the film. I always wanted a brother. And when I heard the song, I was like, damn, I probably felt like that as a kid. So yeah, that was my truth at some point. I think the way I was raised in a single parent household. I realized that I understand it that much more now, that it ain't just as simple as you just procreating and just making just have a kid because you're bored, or, the commitment
True
that
that.
parenthood is and otherwise. So I did at some point, want a sibling, and I think even in rap, like you said, ironic, the irony is not, it's not beyond me that I found like a sibling in rap, pretty much, a stepbrother for Brandon's sake, because I kind of always wanted to be in a rap group, like, coming up, the Hot Boys and UGK and et cetera. I always thought like a rap group or rap cruise was like a cool thing. So to find a rhyme partner, it was, yeah, I think that was some part of it. Like you said, the differences in upbringing in that regard. Like, I'm still like very family oriented, even though I'm, was real close to some of my cousins. They were like siblings growing up. But yeah, in rap, it was like the irony of our partnership and brand name, even although I don't have true siblings, is kind of.
What step siblings are you?
Yeah, I do now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, in a perfect world, because you do have one child, as previously mentioned here in this conversation, in a perfect world, would you like to have another child for your daughter because you grew up as an only sibling, or are you content because you grew up that way that she grows up that way?
Yeah, in a perfect world, if you could form fit things as to your choosing. Yeah, I like to have a son. I guess that's the best way of saying it. I like for her to have a sibling because you do get lonely as an only child, or like, I see how even when we shot the cover for this project, how excited that she is to be around other children, and if that was like a everyday thing, I think she would make a great big sister and whatever else. So
I agree with that.
If but again, it ain't that simple because I don't want to be a single parent, 2 times over, and
you don't want to create it.
Right, another broken home or compound was already, there. But yeah, perfect world, sure.
Now, speaking of the cover art that you just brought up, can you shed some light on that? The direction of this concept, why the cover looks the way it does for the 4th installment, so on and so forth here.
Well, we wanted to display our lives in the current state and kind of give you a glimpse of the important things to us. And it just so happened, he's only got 1 child on the cover and I got 8. But I think that kind of gives you a closer look at the dynamic of what we do, because he's familiar with my children and vice versa. It's like one big family, so it looks like a family portrait, and that's always been in the forefront of our purpose, and at least since he's had a child, it's been his purpose, and I think in a lot of cases when it comes to rappers being fathers, a lot of a lot of them might put that secondary or, put it on the back burner, the idea of fatherhood. And for us, it's the opposite. That means more than everything. And, you, as a fan, you might want a million records a day, but I can't do that. I got people to take care of, and, I got other responsibilities. I think that was, for the most part, we wanted to give you or to illustrate.
Yeah. Go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
Nah, I mean, he said it pretty much perfectly, but just a little bit more on the cover. It was an update of a prior cover. The Step Brothers 2 cover, we're reenacting, recreating the scene from the movie where they're going for a job interview. Their parents prompted them to go get a job, and they're sitting in a lobby waiting for the interview, I guess resumes in hand, and they got on tuxedos, which is kind of crazy to wear a tuxedo to a job interview. So,
and they did each interview in tandem.
yeah, exactly. So on Step Brothers 2, we, like I said, recreated that. So we were updating that. You can see we both put on a few pounds since then.
Some more than others.
Like you said, my hair's longer, thicker.
My shit gray.
Yeah, it's a different shade and a little bit more volume. But also, our families have grown.
Yeah,
since that time, he's had a few additions, and so have I. And so it's progression of time. Like all these projects, all of our music, I feel like at large are time capsules in their own right. And so from the cover, like if you were familiar there, you can see how some things have changed, and it's pronounced. Yeah. He noted that as one of the characteristics that he holds up high, props up the fatherhood element. Going back to the first 3 projects, I wasn't a father. Like even to the other part, I wasn't able to empathize or like truly understand what he was navigating in his parenting life or his life outside of music. I think I knew, I was aware, but like I said, empathy is something completely different. I was always aware, but I just probably didn't know, how that worked until like it became my reality. And so, like I said, like putting that out there is just what it is. Like now I'm probably still the scale proportion of it, because it's ×8, is still not the same, but I can understand it a lot better. And
true that.
And so yeah, and also it was just a cool thing, like bring your kids to work day kind of thing, for them to be a part of what we're doing. Like they're there, it's not a day that goes by that we're not in their lives directly. So.
And whose idea was this initially? This update to the previous cover, including all the kids on it, that whole thing. Did one of you two spearhead that?
Yeah, I don't know which one of us though. A lot of times, that's just how our shit work. One of us might have an initial idea, and if we like it, we just start building from there. He might know better than me, but I don't really keep track of whose idea was what, because a lot of times when we're building, it's it's a joint effort. So I really couldn't say. I might not have had much input, but I really can't fucking. I don't remember. But either way, it was just me and him to come up with the idea. It wasn't a third party in that regard. We sat and I want to say we spoke about it a few times. I just don't remember whose idea was what.
Yeah, it was just conversation as we got into making the project. We'd bounce ideas off of one another, for song, music's sake, and we
really for everything. Even when it's not music, that's just how we function.
Figuring out how to market this whole thing. Those are conversations that just end up happening, not in a planning meeting kind of way, but just it probably was in the studio as best I can remember, because it's like, what are we gonna do for the cover? And they only made one movie, so it ain't that much to draw from.
Right.
As far as like, I think Step Brothers 3 was, it was animated, but it was a scene in the movie from like a picture, you know. It was a picture like kids would have taken, but they grown as hell, and we recreated that photo. So, you know, at this point, although it was derived from and inspired by the film, at this point it's almost as much to draw from what we poured into, you know what I'm saying, our own franchise of it. And yeah, updating it was just like, damn, we were in our mid-20s at the point when we started this, and everything is different. Like,
Definitely.
and let's lean into that.
Now, speaking of conversations between you two here, okay, going to ask each of you this question here. We'll start with Don Tripp. What's the best advice you received from Lito, or most important thing you learned being around him so far?
It was a while ago, a long while ago. We might have been doing Step Brothers 1. I'm not really sure. My timelines are horrible. I can't keep up with that kind of shit. But I fell out with somebody that was close to me, and I don't remember what he said verbatim, but it stuck. He was like, look at it like they doing you a favor. They're removing themselves from your space, and you rather them do it now when you're not dependent on them than, you know, than later when you thought you could depend on them. And that shit always stuck. And I fucked a hard drive up while we was having that conversation. That's probably why I remember it too. Cause I was holding a fucking laptop. Now, matter of fact, I think you fucked the hard drive up. It might have been you holding the laptop.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, one of us fucked the hard drive up because one of us was holding the laptop. I can't remember which one of us it was. So, yeah, there's that. So them herbal fumes might be getting to me.
Yeah.
Same question to you here, Lito, about DT.
DT.
What's the best advice you received from him, or most important thing you learned being around him so far?
The best advice I got from him was about a year and a half ago. He was maybe 6 months or so into his 24-month run of dropping a project every month. And I had been in a rut or kind of a standstill creatively and professionally. Was kind of disconnected from all of this at that time. And I literally asked, like, how the hell are you doing this? Like, I was struggling to make one song or to complete a song, and he was doing it 10 plus times over monthly. And I knew by design his intent was to do it for a year at that time. But I was like, how? You know, we worked together, and I put out maybe 6 projects in a 12-month span before. So, but just like at that time, I think I was even in that space. We talked about the Andre 3000 interview of like, what do I rap about? Like, you know, second guessing yourself. And that led to the advice that he gave me. When I asked him, he was just like, because I asked in the context of like, I can't get out of my own way. I want to do it, but you know, the fire or the passion of it is just kind of beyond me. And he told me that I was thinking too hard, and basically like to get out of my head about it, and whatever it is that that I do is good enough, essentially. Like that, it's like something's better than nothing. I can't quote the advice, but the gist of it was just be, just do, like you got it. It was in his own way, it was advice, but it also like gave me a kind of, I guess, a boost of confidence. And it was also like a lead by example kind of thing. Because like I said, I was inspired and moved by what he was doing to the point of I probably almost like called him to have a conversation. But that, you know, sees into the idea of like our connection ain't, we not just calling to do music or make music. Over the time between Step Brothers 3 and 4, we spent probably equal amounts or more time around each other away from the music. You know what I'm saying? We've been
True.
birthday parties and
She was on the way.
Yeah, right, and family events and things like that. Aside from, and obviously probably 100 shows as well, but you know, so that advice of like, hey man, just
do
you know,
shit.
just go for it. From that conversation, I was like, I said something about having writer's block. He was like, just that, write about having writer's block. Like people will want to hear it. Like that's on brand for you, whatever you're going through, just pour it into it. And if it's one verse, he was like, because I played some music, he was like, man, the stuff that you played in the studio, like, that shit's perfect. And I was like, that, to me, it felt incomplete. He was like, who's to say that it's incomplete? You know, you're the only one capable of saying that, but why do you look at it that way? Go to the next thing. And that conversation was like sound advice and helped me get back in gear. And since then, it's been kind of a progressive.
Yeah, you've been killing it.
From then to now, like, you know, back where I'm supposed to be and feel like existing in my purpose more so. So that was.
And does that fall into any of the reasoning why there is a Step Brothers 4, a fourth installment here? Was this done to kind of get you back to getting that fire, that passion again for music, or that was just something coincidentally that ended up happening down the road after you?
I think it was a byproduct of it. It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't
the purpose of it. We always intended of continuing the series. Just life happened how it did and affected the timeline of it. But nah, personally, I didn't feel like it was fair to what we have built together to do it until I was dialed in, locked in. So it wasn't. We're not doing this to get to that point. It's like I feel about relationships, like a person should arrive whole and then bring the most that they can bring to the table. Not come into a relationship like, all right, I'm gonna do this to get myself together. So nah, it's the opposite. I feel like my solo project I put out before this, regretfully, was confirmation that I'm like where I need to be, like artistically and otherwise, for us to deliver collectively. And I had to try to match energy and meet him where he was, because he's obviously been, you know, at the top of his game on the solo end. So nah, I don't think this is that.
And speaking of the series here, this is obviously the fourth installment once again, but what is the plan with these installments? Is there a possibility for a fifth, a sixth, so on and so forth?
Of course, I think that's and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We enjoy it, and I mean same for, like you just said. We intended to do 4 a lot sooner than we did for life, but life happened, and as far as 5 or so forth, however it go, we just going with the flow. When that time comes, we're gonna attack it the same way and give it everything we got. But each time it'll be organic, it'll be genuine. It'll never be a moment where we sit down and we force a Step Brothers project, because 1, I think we love it too much, and 2, I don't think either one of us enjoy the idea of half-assing something. So.
And speaking of these installments, is this fan requested, or is this something you two just take upon yourself? You know what? We should do a 4th installment or whatever installment.
It's both, but it's definitely fan requested. Like people don't even say hi to us half the time.
Yeah, they say,
what's
"Where's
going on?
Starlito?"
When Step Brothers for? Or people assume like we
They
ride
think-
around together all day, every day,
Yeah.
like as if we not from different cities
Right.
originally. Or I think our collective brand is bigger than even the
individuals.
sum of the parts. Like,
Yeah.
it's its own thing that
Definitely.
people have embraced as a collective. But just the same, it's something that we want to do. It's something it's not just appeasing a demand. It's something that we made magic right away, and like for sure it was game changing. It was life changing for me when we did the first one. So, like in honor of that, like it's just I kind of feel like we owe it to ourselves.
Yeah,
we owe it to
definitely.
one another to keep it going.
And for those that are fans of yours in the audience here watching, listening to this interview, they can see this experience of you two together up close and personal in the form of a tour as well.
Yeah. We're building that out now. You know, we adding new dates daily, so you know we can't really. I couldn't really say what cities we're not in yet, because you know we ain't done putting it together.
There are some tour dates and cities already announced. For those in the audience that want to find that information and get further updates, where can they find that?
The tour listing and ticket links for most of the dates on grindhard.com. You can explore and navigate from there. Our socials,
Definitely.
Mr. Don Trip.
Yeah, it's Mr. Dunn Trip on all the social sites, and for Craig,
it's a few things. Starlito Grindhard on Instagram and TikTok, and Lito615 on X. And YouTube, Grindhard TV.
And for those in the audience that keep hearing you refer to Lito as Craig, can you explain that? Because I've been calling him Lito, Starlito, things of that nature, but you've been saying Craig throughout this.
Well, he's Craig.
Well, everybody's
And
Craig,
you Craig.
technically. Yeah, you don't know you Craig,
you
but
Craig.
you Craig. We call you Craig about 3 times. You just didn't catch that you was being Craig, but he's Craig. And if somebody knock on your door right now, we'll say,
Craig.
"Well, Craig, what are you doing?" But you know, everybody's Craig. It's an inside thing that somehow became an outside thing. So.
And for those in the audience also wondering, when it comes to the phrase Step Brothers, is there an age gap between you two, and how much of an age gap, if so?
I think just a couple months. Nah, you December '84, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so almost a year. He'd say it's not quite a year,
8
but
months.
yeah, okay. 8 months is more than a couple months. So it's either a couple months
4 couples.
or it's a year. And it's not a couple months, so it's a year.
We're the same age for 4 months.
See?
Out of every year.
Right.
And who's the oldest between you two at this point?
Craig.
And speaking of possible future installments,
So he
here,
says.
speaking of possible future installments here, how many songs right now in that hard drive or laptop that you referenced previously is there that exists of you two at this point? There's 16 tracks on this installment, Step Brothers for Life, but how many unreleased currently just sitting there tucked waiting?
1.
Yeah, I was gonna say 17 total. We had 1. My bad. It was 17 minus 16. 1. Well, he got a verse he never put out with Day After Tomorrow, but
that's from like Godspeed.
Yeah, it's super old.
But other than that,
just 1. We only did 1 extra track.
Yeah.
In the
Even
process.
for solo music, I don't have it. That 1 song is all I got. As far as me, as far as us, that's all I got, that 1 record. And that's just the 1 record that we decided not to put on the tape.
Yeah, we're pretty efficient in terms of the music. We don't waste music. It's not a lot of throwaways.
And we don't hoard it either.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, as evidenced by his output the last couple of years, he's putting the music out. I've always prided myself in that. The music don't really do anybody any good sitting on a hard drive. Like you said, drive could crash and it's lost. I mean, obviously we got clouds and things like that now, but I never advocated for that from even when I first started. I think creating the music is kind of a high all its own, and releasing and sharing the music is another, like.
Yeah, it's euphoric.
Yeah, and so, you know, I'm making it to get to that next part of it.
And speaking of future installments, aside from the Step Brothers series, do want to ask each of you these questions here, because in all of your catalogs of music, you do have other series and other installments. And wondering, for those in the audience that are fans of you two individually here, are there any plans for future installments? So I'd like to start with you here, Starlito, since you spoke last. At War With Myself 2 was the last installment. Any plans for anything in the future of just that series itself?
Yeah, I plan on doing an At Peace With Myself, which would be a continuation of that series. At War With Myself was originally released in 2011. I think it was the project prior to Step Brothers 1. And then At War With Myself 2 dropped in 2018. And yeah, I'm closer to a headspace of like peace, inner peace, more resolve, almost the polar opposite of where I was when I dropped that first one. And I would consider that a part of that series, because it's just, like I said, progression of time and evolution, growth. I hope to not have to make another At War With Myself, because it's my, you know, best/worst enemy, and I don't want no problems with that dude.
Starlito's way forward, Get Out. Is there plans for a fifth?
Damn, yeah, I guess now you putting it out there. I won't say plans, but that's
idea.
Yeah, that is it. That's an idea. Something I saw, like Lil Wayne dropping the Carter 6 soon. Like, I feel like you find your Hallmark series. Maybe that's the one, because that series kind of started my rebrand or renaming myself at a point in my career. So yeah, perhaps. I ain't been able to think too much past the Step Brothers project. It's been my focus here recently, and I'm just kind of on that. But yeah, maybe so. You probably just gave me something to put on my vision board.
And last question on this vision board, there was 2 projects, Cold Turkey, Fried Turkey. I don't know if that was considered a series of itself or a sequel to that, or is there any plans with?
Right, cold cut turkey.
I'm pescatarian now, so
it's gonna be this next one gonna be baked fish.
Nah, that was kind of was what
so
it was.
Fergie.
I did hot chicken, and although I didn't look at that as a series, I did consider it like it was poultry, and it had an adjective before the poultry, so it fit on some branding things, but they weren't like really connected. That intentionally correlated or connected. Same with Cold Turkey and Fried Turkey. It was just me just being me in terms of branding. Cold Turkey was pronounced as a theme. Didn't have shit to do with turkey. It had to do with me disconnecting, quitting, breaking, you know what I'm saying, some habits and things, and trying to reformat. Like, music is therapy. A lot of times it's a means for me to try to set myself straight and share that experience with the like-minded or people that it appeal to. So the premise of that was, like, you need to quit bullshitting. Cold Turkey. Like, it's, you know, one of the songs we had together on there, No Reviews, difficult starting over, it's better than going backwards. It's like so much soul searching within my music, or affirmations, or a lot of my music is made in the mirror, like stylistically. I'm talking to myself. If it makes sense or resonates with you, that's a bonus. But Cold Turkey was that, and then the success of it, because that was the first project I did with Empire Distribution. It charted on Billboard. It far exceeded my expectations for it. I was about to put it out for free as a mixtape, and that kind of changed the game for me, like professionally, or I was able to see my music had more value in a commercial space than even I could have imagined. And the hustler in me was like, shit, it worked. I'm coming back. Thanksgiving, I dropped Cold Turkey right around 4th of July, and we dropped Step Brothers 2 October. And before we finished Step Brothers 2 and we're going on tour with Kevin Gates at the time, I turned in Fried Turkey. I'm like, when we get out this tour and, finish with the immediate release of Step Brothers 2, I'm coming right back with another solo project, Fried Turkey. So it was titled that because I was dropping it on Thanksgiving as much as anything. It wasn't a true, sequel to Cold Turkey. I was just, like I said, hustling, and a lot of times even with our stuff, we just try to make dope shit. We'll figure out what to call it later.
True.
So, yeah. And then Hot Chicken was a Nashville-centric project, because that's Nashville Hot Chicken has gone global, and it started on my side of town. It started on East Nashville with Prince's Hot Chicken, his favorite restaurant, actually.
Indeed.
And so we had gone on a 43-city tour with Step Brothers 3, and so many places we went, I'm seeing signs. We had little bar spots and places that got Nashville Hot Chicken. Like we in fucking Oregon somewhere, and I'm like, damn, this shit is everywhere. And it's, like I said, it started on Ewan Drive, started down the street from where I'm from. And light bulb went off for damn, we're taking this music that started in East Nashville, for me, nationwide, just like this recipe, if you will. Even though most places doing it wrong, and it's not really, they just making chicken that's hot. It's more of a brine and a batter than a sauce. But so I'm like, I want to take this Nashville stuff. I want to do almost a compilation style project, which was big, in my youth, teenage, adolescent. I can remember several compilations that was I got put on a different artist because I wanted to hear Master P, but he had 15 artists on this compilation. I remember Down South Hustlers, several. We was talking about the Blackout Squad project.
Rough Riders compilation.
Yeah, things like that. So I was doing Hot Chicken as a Nashville-centric project. I had over 10 Nashville artists featured on that project. And so again, Cold Turkey, Fried Turkey, and Hot Chicken. Not so much a series, but yeah.
Got it. And answering questions here for the fans that might not knew if that was a series or not, and so on and so forth. On this vision board of your own, Don Tripp, wanted to ask you about these 3 items here. The last installment was Christopher Season 4. Any plans for more?
1, I don't have a vision board. 2, I don't know. I don't think that far ahead when it comes to the art. I just let it, whatever happens, happen. I don't know. I guess it would be the most contingent on me having another picture of me and my brother from our childhood. That would probably be the most. It would probably depend the most on that.
In the meantime, too, that was the last installment there.
When the hell was that?
I can look that information up very quickly here. In the meantime, too. $2016.
Well, I don't know. That would be tricky. I wouldn't want to weigh the risk of doing a third installment, considering how many new people have tagged along since 2016. I wouldn't want you to feel like you're out the loop. you're in the meantime 3, and you just heard of me last week, and you're like, what the hell is where's 1 and 2? I never knew these existed. So probably not from 2016. Yeah, I probably wouldn't continue something from that far back.
And probably gauging that answer with this next question, but Terminator 2.
Oh, no, it won't be a Terminator 3 because I didn't like Terminator 3, the movie. So probably not a Terminator 3.
All right, wrapping up the questions here with you two gentlemen. I do want to ask you this, Leo, this is something that you mentioned during the conversation, and that was like you always wanted to be a part of a group and things of that nature, and of course you are one here. If duos are considered groups, I don't know, sometimes some people look at it as a group, some people just put it in the duo category.
Right.
We got 6 personalities, so it's a group.
3 apiece.
No.
But speaking of
6 apiece.
4 or 5 on 1.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my bad.
Speaking on the subject of duos alone, if there was a Mount Rushmore of rap duos, which 4 would all of you choose and why?
That's 8 motherfuckers. That's a big, Jesus, that's Mount Rushmore.
Rap duos.
Yes, rap duos here.
So limited to the 2-man group.
Yep, 2-man group, 4 of them though.
All right.
This could
For
be an
his
8-headed-
4 and my 4.
We can do that separately, or
Yeah.
if there's a collaborative effort here for.
Yeah, we do it separate. I mean, cause
I'm sorry, we got different favorites.
Okay.
damn, man, limited to 4 is always a challenge.
Yeah, that's tough.
Mount Rushmore of rap
yeah.
duos.
I'm
2
on.
mans. I gotta say Run DMC, even though it's technically 3, but Jam Master Jay didn't say a word. So I gotta say Run DMC. I think the style that we embraced the most, I don't know what they called it, but the back and forth shit, I think they were the true originators of that. I'm not sure if they were. If I'm wrong, I really don't give a fuck. They the first people I had ever heard do it. Even going back, I never heard it before them. So I gotta say Run DMC. 2 mans, man. I gotta say 8-Ball and MJG. I probably wouldn't exist without the 8-Ball and MJG coming from Memphis. They paved the way. They broke down barriers. That's 2. 2 mans. I don't want to take all the good ones.
Nah, do your thing, bro.
I gotta say Outkast. Outkast gave me they gave me the notion that I could be different. I don't have to be as different as Andre 3000, but it let me know you could, I don't have to blend in. I can be who I am, and I can, as long as I keep my swords sharpened, I can do just about anything. It don't much matter if I'm like another person or not. Well, that's 3. Shit. My 4th one.
Mount Rushmore of rap duos.
My 4th one.
And doesn't have to be a true duo in essence. It could be something similar like you two,
Like-
have a brand together.
I would have to say Styles and Jadakiss, even though again the Locks is a group. Same deal. Styles and Jadakiss. I think that although Run DMC, I feel like they're the originators of it. I think Styles and Jadakiss do it the best with the back and forth. I don't know what you call that, but I think they do the back and forth thing the best of all the people I've ever heard do it. And if anything, that would be where where I drew the most inspiration from when it comes to that. So I guess that would be my fault.
Well, I'm gonna assume that we take ourselves out of the conversation because I would include us in any conversation with two person
I can dig it.
rap duos, but excluding us, I'm gonna go with UGK, Outkast as he listed, Boosie and Webby, and man, it's tough, like limited to 4 because I had 5 kind of right there, but A by MJG is for sure pioneers and legendary.
True that.
And I think they belong in any of those conversations. But the honorable mention, just because I just feel like I feel remiss to not include them, would be the Clips. That would have been my 5th or honorable mention. And just because we named 2 of the same groups, I kind of like just wanted to include someone else. But for all of those, I feel the same way he does about Styles and Kids. They just never dropped a project with just the 2 of them that I remember. So I look at them more as 2/3 of the Locks, but what they do in tandem is like off the charts and another level. I probably not taking nothing away from Sheek Louch because I like the Locks as a collective. Even the verses reminded you of the synergy, and I think they were a great rap
Sheek
group.
was the first one I was introduced to, actually. Well, musically, he was the first one I was introduced to.
But yeah, everybody else had projects. I wish Boosie and Webby had a little bit more or had kept it going collectively. But yeah, they of our generation, the closest age-wise. I guess the Clips came out at the time that I was starting to rap. So the rest of the groups that I named are like, I look at as pioneers or in the rap realm, almost like uncles. You know what I'm saying? Legacy artists that definitely gave us something to aspire toward.
Now, final question here about this body of work.
All right.
Can you give the audience 5 reasons to listen to it? Step Brothers for Life.
5
Well,
collectively.
you know what? I generally say 5 reasons, but because this is a 4th installment, we'll do 4 reasons. Can you give 4 reasons for those in the audience to listen to Step Brothers for Life?
All right, I give you 2. You give 2. Authenticity. I think this day and age, that's rare to find, and not to pat. I guess I can still pat him on the back. I guess, but you know, I think we are the epitome. We the epitome of authenticity. And
well, we can take turns and get your time.
Yeah, that's cool.
The other reason. It's the craftsmanship. Like lyrically, it is very artistic. Like we're making records about things, specific things, and I think it's the attention to detail, like word for word, bar for bar, is, I mentioned it as like a breath of fresh air. It's, I think, something to take away, something you're just not gonna just get anywhere. You know, it's not easy to find these days in music. So yeah, craftsmanship.
I say relatability, or that it's relatable. You know, we didn't make it up. It's not you know, if we didn't make it up, we didn't put glitter on it. It's not shiny. You know, we like I said, I guess they kind of correlate to the honesty in it. But, you know, we giving our truths, and in most cases, you know, it's y'all truths too. We just happen to be the spokespersons, so to speak. So, you know, I would say that.
Nostalgia, that would be my other selling point or bulletin point of it, to it's a trip down memory lane, as they say, of sorts. There's a lot there. Like, if you're from our generation, it'll probably like hit close to home. Like, there's literally a song called Mitchell and This, which is a nostalgic brand or memorabilia brand. But we have a record called Origins that tells our origin story. So you'll rewind the times with us there, like very literally. There's a record, Butterfly Effect, where we're speaking to our younger selves. And so I think it's important to reflect a lot of times, and for where we are now, like, it's very much present, but it comes with acknowledgement of our journey and what got us here. And there's a wrestling-centric record on the project that, you know, revisits, I guess, childhood in large part for us, because most of those references are really dated. Like, you know, it leans into like 90s and probably maybe early 2000s wrestling situations and whatnot. So yeah, nostalgia, I think that's something that unique as well.
And do you want to share the title of that song for reference for those in the audience?
Royal Rumble.
Now, asked you 4 reasons just to commemorate the 4th installment, but if there's any bonus reasons you want to add, feel free here too. Don't want to stop you from these bulletin
I
points.
give you the 5th. It's beautiful art. That's
very well. Well, asked you a variety of questions here about this body of work and also you two personally. Is there anything else in regards to this project you'd like to add that wasn't asked, or anything else you want to chime in regards to this project, the brand, the tour, things of that nature here, personal projects, solo efforts?
I would just like to acknowledge some people.
For sure.
I don't know Willie's last name.
Robinson.
Willie Robinson. He's I'm gonna call him a director because that's the hat that I initially met him. That's the hat he was wearing when I met him. But he's much more. He's you know, he's a lot more involved than just in videos. But he been a part of this journey every step of the way, and he hold his weight. It ain't in real life we would probably be the step family, so to speak. Kevin Zuliera he's been our engineer individually and as a tandem since like 2010, I think 2011 for you.
Yes, I started working with him Step Brothers 1, and he's mixed every song that you heard from me since then.
Yeah, he mixed, and it's just, man, if there is 100 songs, he's probably recorded about 70 of them too. But again, that's another person who's been hands-on. He's been involved every step of the way. And as we've grown as artists, as our sound has elevated and grown with us, he's just as equally responsible for that as we are.
He actually produced.
Yeah, he did.
He did. This tape. So it's evolved from just mixing engineer to he's actually got a production credit.
Yeah.
I think just the same. Shout out to all the producers involved. I hope not to leave anybody out.
Logan Garrett, before we get too far in. Same deal. I don't know what the hell you would consider Logan to be, but Logan's been involved every step of the way. The same, maybe since 20. When I think I met Logan from you. I think I want to say early on, but I'm not sure. My timelines are horrible. But Logan's been a part of the fold for quite some time as well, and same deal. He's there. He's more than eager to contribute and help move things along with a lot of the pieces to this, from Step Brothers 1 to For Life to just about everything in between that too. So.
Yeah.
And care to share the title of the song that William got a chance to get that production credit?
Oh, it was Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin, Zips.
I don't know.
He produced Schadenfreude.
Ah, yeah.
And he also co-produced
Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble with.
Yeah.
I got a co-production credit there. He
Yeah.
told me that.
He was in on the beat
Couldn't
machine.
figure out if I was gonna use my real name.
Or it was producer name.
Yeah, exactly. Be the baby legend.
Apologies there on the name.
Nah, that's all good.
No, it's all good. You know, shit happens.
Anything else in regards to this body of work here?
It's for life.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. I didn't want to leave anybody out on the producers. Band play, like I said, Zips,
Sapphire.
Sapphire,
Cell
Sizzle, Zach Feezy,
Red on the beat,
Drummer Boy,
Tooch. I think Tooch and Zach Feezy. Yes, yeah, Tooch.
Turbo.
Yeah. Baby Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him, that part. DJ Chill.
Yeah, definitely.
DJ Chill. Man, I'm about to Smokey Hendrix and Nokio and the Colleagues.
And Robin Raynell.
Featuring Robin Raynell, featuring Judah the Lions, 2 vocalists that contributed. Interesting note, we've never had a rapping feature out of these 4 projects. So the only features we've had have all been like melodic additions vocally. The only rapper that was featured was Kevin Gates, and it was like a singing hook, Leash on Life.
Yeah.
But past that, we just pride ourselves in bringing enough of the bars. It ain't room for nobody else. Like them, got more room for activities.
Have you had other recording artists say, "Hey, let us in" on any of these installments?
Of course.
How do you reply to that? How do you respond to that?
Hell no.
I mean, when it's me, I explain to them what this brand is, and I don't think even they would have held it in such high regard had we opened the door for company. So for the most part, I think they get it, and I think that's why it's prestigious enough for you to want to be involved. I think everybody wants to be that rapper that got a verse on the Step Brothers project.
Ain't gonna happen.
No, if so,
well,
I'm gonna gut you.
No, but it's quite a few artists that like both of us rock with, and for sure like we collaborate with other artists, just not a part of this thing.
Yeah.
This thing of ours, if that makes sense. So it's not partial or excluding anybody.
Yeah.
We're excluding everybody.
We're not being antisocial, but we are in that regard.